call again on stage DILG Secretary Sarmiento and DOE Undersecretary Loretta Aizon for the panel discussion. Joining us also in this session is the darling of the industry, Director General Lilia de Lima, and the longtime friend of the industry, Bureau of Customs Commissioner Alberto Lina. Once again, I give the floor to our moderator, Ms. Cherry Mercado.
Thank you, Lina. So this now is our afternoon session, and we have with us, as promised, key officials in government that can answer your concerns in the electronics industry. So now in front of you, you have from the Customs, from the Interior and Local Government, from the Energy Department, and of course, Ms. Lilia de Lima from PEZA. I'm sure there are a lot of questions, and it doesn't matter if it's your own personal concerns, specific concerns about your own personal company or the companies where you're in. We would accommodate as much questions as time would permit. So again, the microphones are on the floor. Just approach it for anyone who wants to ask the first question. Anyone? Okay. While you're thinking of the questions, this is a great opportunity for you to bring it up, insights, comments, something that you want to ask, their opinions about, their suggestions about, maybe air out your grievances about certain issues. This is the best time. Yes, ma'am? Okay, thank you very much for the speech. The speech that was read in behalf of Senator Sonny Angara. And okay, I will throw the first question while you're thinking of the question to Ms. Lilia from PEZA. Since you are the one, they said the darling of the industry. They are very thankful for the steps that you have undertaken, and you've been in the position since 1995. You know their concerns. You know the policies that can help this particular industry. Can we ask your opinion on what do you think are the most pressing concerns now? There's so many of them. Sometimes it's overwhelming. What can realistically be done in the near future, in the coming months, before this term ends, or at the start of the next term?
I think the most pressing concern has just been solved today. One of the most, if not the most pressing concern, which is the regulated chemicals. And it has really been bothering not just the electronics industry, but all exporters. Because of the cumbersome getting the licenses, and also, I don't want to dwell on that anymore, because Secretary Sarmiento already said it has been extended up to April, but he also said, I think he should be the one talking about it. I should not get his role, but just to say that he said that before December, we would have a lasting solution to this very, very pressing concern.
I think that deserves a round of applause. Thank you so much for addressing that particular concern. And maybe, Secretary Sarmiento, we can thank the fact that you experienced bureaucracy yourself when you were in the private sector. It makes you a more effective public servant now. So thank you very much for that. So that pressing concern has been maybe temporarily addressed until the system can be put in place. And what a dream to be like Singapore when it comes to processing all these things now. But ma'am, what is your vision? What is maybe your wish list for the industry?
You asked me pressing concern. The other concern which keeps on coming back, but I hope it's already way back in the past, is port congestion. And so we should ask Commissioner Bert Lina about that.
Okay.
Because investors, especially the new ones, we are inviting, who have read about it, they seem incredulous if they ask me, you think the port congestion will not happen anymore? No more, no more. That's a thing of the past. They are still unbelieving. They are thinking that it might recur again. So Commissioner Bert Lina also has something to say about that.
Thank you very much for bringing that up. Yes, Commissioner Lina.
One, on port congestion, but I will add on to the chemicals later on. On the port congestion, that will be really a thing of the past because I'm there and I will not allow it. I will not disappoint my friends here who have observed for the last 30, 35 years. Okay, what we will do now, and I will ask our friends, again, to write me, and I will do that, is we will make the PESA on the electronic side, that we will move on the port shipment is from the ship to the truck. I'm preparing the CMO to mandate the 2 port operators or the 3 port operators of Batangas, Manila, ICTSI, and ATI, and also part Manila North Harbor, and we will include also Subic. On the PESA electronic shipment, you will have a ship-to-truck mode direct to your plant. So this is because of the prodding of the darling of the industry, ma'am. So let's give a round of applause to... No, but this is possible because we have made a time study, and because of the number of shipments anyway that are coming by sea, we were able to estimate it. And we are doing a lot of improvement. As a matter of fact, we are asking all the imports that are coming in by sea freight to advance all the documents. And hopefully, all of the PESA shipments are pre-cleared. O pumalakpak naman kayo dyan. Kulang pa yan para mabilis, di ba? No, I'm not kidding.
We have to show that we're appreciating the effort here.
Because it can be done. What we will ask really, your shippers, because we are now tagging all the exporters that are coming to the Philippines. What we have tagged only are the importers. We are now tagging the exporters. As a matter of fact, we are also profiling your exporters. We are doing it now. We will gonna be doing our own analytics. And this is in line also with the help that we will ask from you, is please put your money where your mouth is. If you want to speed up the chemical clearance, I want you to rise and help PNP by donating all the hardware, the software, etc. to the Philippine National Police. Please rise and give them a round of applause. Ang hirap sa inyo puro palagpag lang tayo dito. Pwede naman natin ibigay Di ba? Ano ang sagot natin? Yes. Yan ang gusto ko sa inyo. Kayang-kaya yan, di ba? Why? Mahina yung palakpak nyo Nakikinig si Secretary sa... Di ba? You know, they are more than willing to accept our donation. And we did that before. I, for one, spearheaded the donation so many years ago when we started the auto export and auto import. And you were part of it. We were able to eliminate about 1.5 billion in corruption because we did the auto export and the auto import for the Philippine, for PESA and the rest, and the Bureau of Customs. So I beg you to please help PNP by donating the hardware and software to them. Pwede po ba?
Can we ask that from the industry? Maybe SEIPI
Mahina yung sagot
can coordinate.
Ma'am.
No, we will. They are just very, very shy.
Cautious, very shy. They're very shy They're very shy. They cannot draw right away.
Wait, let us ask that again. They're willing to do their part in the BOC. Are we willing to do our part in SEIPI? Mahina nga, sir. Mahina nga. Another one. Are we willing to do our part?
Maraming salamat po at yun po susuklian ng gobyerno para sa inyo. Lalo na po ang ating sekretary. Salamat po.
Thank you in advance. We need your help. With the procurement system and government, it will take some time for us to be able to do that. It's just, sometimes it's so frustrating. But if you come up with the right, we feel is the right software, in the procurement process again, they might say, oh, it's tailored fit for a certain, then it becomes a problem. But if it's a donation, then we'll be able to hopefully address the problem at the soon as possible time. Before December.
Secretary Sarmiento would like to expound on the concern a while ago of the one Ms. Lilia de Lima brought up about the controlled chemicals.
Yeah, the Chief PNP has already signed it, as I mentioned earlier. And we're going to meet tentatively by Wednesday next week because I hold office in Crame on a Wednesday. All the officers are there. I want to sit down with them. But we love to inform the other players in government as well as from the private sector for us to be able to sit down and finally come up with a solution, permanent solution to the problem instead of just, again, extending the moratorium, among other things. And we've discussed a good number of ideas earlier on the table, but I'd rather not expound on it anymore. As I've said earlier, we'd rather work. And we have to walk the talk, so to speak. So I'd rather start walking by next week.
Now you know when to stalk Secretary Sarmiento in Camp Crame, Wednesdays. Anyone has a question for any of our panelists?
Let me just add on something. Anyway, we're here. Now, we are reviewing your cost of doing business. For example, at the port, and your brokers and your forwarders and your trucks. I am now on your side. Wala na ako doon sa negosyo ko, di ba? I already divested. We are reviewing the terminal handling charges. This is one of the questions being asked, and the other charges that accompanies onto your bill. So by about 2 months, a month from now, we'll be able to, I would say, lessen the cost of doing business here. The other expenses that you are encountering, we are scrutinizing it, all items in your bill. As whatever we could do under customs, under the Tariff and Customs Act, we'll do it for you. So that's a very big, I would say, you'll save within 10 to 15% of your cost.
May I? Secretary Sarmiento, regarding a more permanent solution to the chemicals problem, I've had personal experiences in getting permits. I think what we are faced here is the need of industry for speedy and simplified procedure so that you get it better, faster, cheaper. But we are faced with the traditional police military attitude on the hierarchical system of decision making. Okay? You get approvals at all levels, from the municipal or city, then to provincial, then to regional, then to Crame, all in a command and control fashion. And nobody else can approve if the designated person is not there. So, ang hirap po talaga pag ginamit yung sistemang yun dun, kung ikumpara mo sa pangangailangan ng industriya.
Yeah, again, that's one of the things that we're going to address. And I sit as the chair of the Multi-Sector Advisory Board of the Army, the Army Transformation Roadmap. We were recruited basically in 2010, injecting corporate practice. We have with us in our team, Gigi Montinola, who used to be as a banker, Tony Aquino, who used to be president of Ayala Land, Bertie Lim, among others, for us to be able to inject corporate practice in the Philippine Army. You'll be amazed with the transformation that is now happening within that institution from where they came from. In 2010, they didn't even want to wear their uniform anymore, some of the soldiers were telling us. But after 5 years, each soldier even has a scorecard already with respect to them being able to, the first question, what is my personal contribution to the attainment of the Army by the year 2028? To include a personal scorecard with respect to their economic financing, para hindi puro utang, among others. So there is this transformation, and to quote Gigi Montinola, I didn't expect I can now use my language in Harvard in the Army. And we firmly believe that we can do this. And we're now starting something with the Philippine National Police. I requested them to do a strategic refresh yesterday. Unfortunately, I was not able to join them. There's going to be a revalida that I'm going to somewhat check where they're heading to right now. And rest assured that that's what exactly we are trying to change in the culture of that institution, and likewise in the DILG with all the bureaus under the Department of Interior and Local Government. As I've said earlier, we're likewise slowly injecting, we're even preparing, and you're most welcome to help us, an honest-to-goodness course for the future LCEs, the local chief executives after the May 2016 election. And the best teacher to a mayor is a fellow mayor, by the way. And the best teacher to a governor is a fellow governor. There's going to be a trainer's training incorporating corporate practice again for them to understand and get a bigger picture of things rather than the usual kasal binyag libing mayor. And we would want to change the mindset of the mayor without necessarily literally changing the job description, but we would want to change it so that their mindset is that of an economic and development manager rather than just the typical, as I've said, kasal binyag libing mayor. We are preparing the training module already to include on disaster risk reduction. It's very important. We cannot talk about economic forecasting without considering the potential effect of a disaster in this country. I do sit in the advisory group of parliamentarians in the United Nations International Strategy for Disaster Reduction based in Geneva, so I'm likewise so sensitive about this. And likewise on peace and order, among others. We're preparing something to ensure that we'll be able to produce, hopefully, without encroaching and violating the Constitution, because they do enjoy a local autonomy, but we firmly believe by working closely with them, that is the very reason why there is now a seal of good local governance. If you don't comply, you don't get anything from national government. But if you comply, you improve your local governance on the ground, you get more from national government. This is what the BUB is all about. You want the fund to be downloaded to your local government unit, you shape up. You don't? We'll ask national government to implement it. Next year, this was during the time of Secretary Mar, and I'm pursuing this. Next year, there's going to be direct downloading of the BUB funds to the local government units as long as they have met the requirements and the seal of good local governance. So we're now slowly pushing, likewise, the transformation of our local chief executives, more importantly on business processing, and the kind of mindset, the military culture that you're telling us, we're slowly changing it. It used to be, even the military people, it used to be body count. Their mindset used to be based on body count. But if you talk to the senior officers today, they're like people from the National Economic Development Authority already. It's winning the peace rather than the body count. So please give us, we know transformation is not going to happen overnight, but we're pretty consistent. We're going to go and address this problem finally. Do allow us some time, but hopefully before December, as the President instructed us earlier, ganun po mag-utos ang Presidente, papyaw, pero ibig sabihin, gawin mo yan bagong ng Disyembre, we'll be doing it for
Salamat to.
address this problem.
Meron yung pag-asa yan. We can cite the case of the LTO. Nung araw, it takes months to get your license. Now, it only takes an hour. Why? Dahil gumamit sila ng process improvement. At syempre, yung nakakata sa kanila, yun ang nagpilit na gawin yun. Salamat ho.
Okay, thank you very much. Yes, sir?
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Arnido from Knowles Electronics, Cebu. This goes out to Department of Energy, Madam Undersecretary Aison. Given the tightening supply you mentioned in Visayas earlier and the excess supply in Luzon, would it be a logical solution to increase the transfer capacity of the transmission line that connects Luzon and Visayas? You know, perhaps by doing so, Luzon can share excess capacity to the Visayas areas without any constraints. This would also be extended to Mindanao, which would allow a one-grid operation.
Thank you for your question. Luzon and Visayas are already interconnected, so WESM is operating, so they can share power supply with each other. But Mindanao is not yet connected, so I think the study is still ongoing. It will take quite a while, so maybe it's not coming by next year, maybe by 2017 to 2018, because there are, firstly, we're waiting for Mindanao to be self-sufficient, or they can already establish a stable energy supply, and that's coming in by July, mid-July, July 2016. So that's one step towards integrating Mindanao with Visayas and Mindanao and Luzon. So, but there are efforts to interconnect so that we'll have one grid for the entire country. So, but definitely Luzon and Visayas are sharing supply of power so that it makes them quite interdependent. They're dependent to each other at times, but of course there are, when there is over supply in Luzon, it can be exported to Visayas and vice versa. But I think the case is it should be more of Luzon exporting power to Visayas, because as I reported earlier, tight supply is expected for the Visayas area.
Thank you very much. Any other question?
Good afternoon. I'd like to thank all of you, I guess, for all that you do to help our industry. Quick question. I know we talked about the chemical importation issue and your commitment to solve the problem. We really appreciate that. Since you asked us also to provide possible solutions to the problems, I'd like to suggest one for your consideration. We understand the need to regulate chemicals because for national security reasons and everything else that goes around with it. But would you consider for PEZA enterprises and companies that have a long-standing reputation and established processes to handle chemicals, would you consider giving a green lane and not subject them to the same processes that you have for other companies? You know, most of the members of SEIPI have had a long history. They're not someone who opened a shop and disappears in a few years, and we have processes. And we would also be willing to allow you to audit our processes, look at our systems, and suggest enhancements that we need to make so we can completely bypass this process or the permit process and regulations. And I'm sure DG would also help in terms of giving suggestions on how we could bypass. And it could be something that both DILG and PEZA could work together along with the customs to see how you could help companies like us to bypass some of these processes so we don't go through the same things that you have to put everyone else in the country through.
All the things you mentioned, I shared it to them earlier already, that we're intending to do. But again, if you're able to help us with the IT component, we'll be able to act faster, I guess.
Wow, that's very good news. But does that come, sir, just a follow-up question to that. I don't know how fair it is, but does it follow that, for example, you're given this privilege, but you'll have stiffer penalties in case there are violations? Because there is a privilege that you are enjoying.
Yes, there is.
Okay, yes, Ms. Melba.
I'm not going to ask a question, but it's an offer to Secretary Sarmiento. I will open ST Microelectronics to train your people where we use these chemicals. So you can come and visit our plant. We will also tell them about how we operate so that the trust and confidence can be established.
Thank you for the offer. I just assumed office. My first guest in the Philippines is Typhoon Lando, who overstayed for like a week. I only had, 4 hours of sleep for the past few days. But, you know, the most satisfying moment, I guess, is looking at NOAA. Because I defended their budget in Congress in modernizing Pag-asa. And we were able to do our assignment. As early as 5 nights ago, we warned Pampanga and Bulacan that the water is going to go down after 2 or 3 days. I received a call from Governor Pineda telling me, hey Sec, NOAA is right, the water is here. The following day, Governor Alvarado Bulacan called me and said, hey Sec, NOAA is correct, the water is here. But without us investing whatever available technology there is, and research and development, we would not have been able to do this. Actually, enough warning system. Again, investment is very important. Not only the hardware component, but more importantly, the UN mayor as well. So, we're most willing to accept the offer for us, for you to be able to train our people. And as Bert as cited earlier, it's very important that for us to use whatever technology there is to help facilitate things and make things a bit easier for everyone.
So to answer your question, I also commit ST Microelectronics to help you in both software and hardware as long as you provide the speed that we are asking for.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Anyone else wants to offer anything to our panelists? They're open to it.
I'd just like to make a comment that, it is not that we're against helping the government. We very much are willing to, but we have certain things we have to worry about. A lot of us are companies based out of US and Europe who have Foreign Corrupt Practices Act, and we are prohibited from making any direct donations or contributions to government institutions. But through SEIPI, I'm sure we could work a process and a methodology to provide the required technical support or other things that we can help you to help us, I guess.
What a wonderful synergy we're now seeing that's unfolding this afternoon. Any other question? Oh, yes, Dr. Lachika.
Just to follow up on what we've heard so far. So next week we'll be organizing a task force, and we'll certainly work with PEZA and the Bureau of Customs and DILG to put together a framework to understand what hardware and software applications are going to be needed, how much it's going to cost, and how to deploy the strategy. So again, thank you for your help, and you've got the industry behind you.
This is Sunil from On Semiconductor. Bert, I think we have talked about it. There's a similar concern maybe on the customs office side. I know, for instance, the customs office in Cavite has requested us to provide hardware and internet support, for instance, which again, we understand we will do what it takes to provide that support. But again, if there are any other gaps besides the PNP office, please highlight those because we want to help you help us. Thank you.
Mr. Sunil, thank you so much. Anyone else? Doesn't have to be a pledge for support. You can ask or comment. Yes, Secretary Lee.
Let me just add on what the Secretary did mention for your information on the Project NOAA. I think that's where the government has really put its resources, and thank you, Secretary. Because, as you know, every morning, if you would watch on television on 5 to 5:30, the Channel 4 on Panahon TV. That gives you the earliest update on weather. And thanks also to Pag-asa and thanks to you, Mr. Secretary. Because of Project NOAA, the weather has been merged now, and I think we're getting an accurate forecast as unlike before. Even the rainfalls, even on the rivers, and how much water we have on all the rivers in this country, it's being already monitored. And they are still improving it. I think there's a new budget being asked for Pag-asa. I hope the President will approve it. It has passed on third reading in the lower house and the Senate, and God willing, we'll be able to add more to the Dopplers, Mr. Secretary, and to the rest of the equipment that we really need to help us when there are disasters. Thank you.
In an archipelago such as the Philippines that experiences 26 or so cyclones every year, we finally have this system in place. Yeah, anyone else? Yes, sir, go ahead. The gentleman on the left.
I'm Vic Gumban from TCB Australian. And this one is more for the power, because we have discussed a while ago about the high cost of power here. We're working with TWG on the new ERC regulation on capping the rest to 25%. I know there will not be a straight answer to this one, but as Dan has voiced out earlier, that this will have a major impact on the open access for the 750 kilowatt and for the additional power for the expansion of various industries. So if we cap this to 25%, just like what ERC is doing right now, the companies will have no choice, and we'll end up, I guess, with very expensive power. So SEIPI is working on this, and we just like to highlight this one.
Sir, I think we need a little bit of clarification on the question.
Okay,
I think you're doing this with ERC.
Yeah, we're doing this with ERC. There's a cap that's being proposed for the rest at 25%. If they have 25% already of the market, they could not add to it. And then what we will end up is the other rest, which have lesser clout in industry and will have much higher cost, then we will end up to be with them. No? So eventually what we fear is the cost of power will go up because of that cap.
This is the ARCOA.
Yes,
Retail
that's the
competition
ARCOA,
and
yes.
open access.
Yes.
I think we're working with the RC on this, so maybe we can sit down with you about this concern that you have.
Sorry, one question I have for the ERC. So I know we had a pretty critical issue last year with the Malampaya-related shutdown. We all know this is the season of El Nino and so on, and we do expect more powerful typhoons than in past years. So how prepared would you say we are for a repeat of the Malampaya situation, and what's your confidence level?
Let me first tackle the El Nino. So firstly, we already have a task force on El Nino, and maybe it's also good for me to mention the task force for 2016 election, the purpose of which is to have the sufficient supply of power. So our initial simulation shows that Luzon is not really more of hydro, but more of coal and natural gas. So it's manageable when it comes to El Nino. Luzon is manageable. Well, Visayas has very negligible hydropower as its source, so it's not really a problem. Mindanao will be quite a problem because it's highly on hydropower. But then with the incoming additional power plants, more of coal and biomass, it will not be that worse. And with some measures that we will be putting in, like I'm sure you've heard about ILP, and then we're procuring modular generator sets, and then NPC and other agencies will do hydropower management. It means that They will just have to manage the water level at any point in time so that all throughout the period where we expect El Nino, there would be still supply. So it's something like apportioning it or allocating it, and it's not finishing off the water at one instance or one point. And then, of course, we are also doing this demand-side management, energy efficiency, and conservation. So those are some of the steps. So this is how we're doing the simulation, but still a work in progress. And then about how prepared are we when typhoons come in? Well, I'd just like to share with you the APEC Energy Ministers meeting we just had in Cebu last week. And the theme is on energy resiliency. So we are focusing on energy resiliency, and this is something like, we define energy resiliency as something like doing your infrastructure, strengthening it so that it can withstand extreme, natural and man-made disasters. And then when the disaster comes, it can return to normalcy at efficient manner and in a timely manner. And then the other part of it is building back better. So now, as far as APEC economies are concerned, the Philippines is part of it, and there are steps that we will be initially doing: climate proofing, energy infrastructure, which means there has got to be vulnerability assessment. Standards will have to be put in place. There would be some workshops that will have to be done so that standards for maybe typhoons as strong as Yolanda, we can define standards for it. And maybe we can do retrofit through engineering solutions of the present infrastructure. And for the new infrastructures, and infrastructures for that matter, we will have to put in standards so that this will be the order of the day. So, and of course, we have NDRRMC. They've been doing all this disaster preparedness program, disaster management, and energy is very much into this exercise.
Yes, sir. Can you please say that on the microphone? It's a very...
We were monitoring the path of Lando. Lando went to the dams. He went to visit a
Did the
water
rounds.
in San Roque, in Agno, Pantabangan, somewhat. It helped a bit.
Did you send him a memo,
in this
sir?
particular time of El Nino.
He might have gotten your memo.
And if I may add, there is an APEC task force on energy resiliency. So the chair would be United States and the Philippines. So they took Philippines because we were the first to introduce energy resiliency as one of the major area of concern for APEC.
Okay.
Thanks for the, just follow-up question. Thanks for the detailed response. I think, I'm sorry to say, but I don't really feel confident. Typhoon Lando did happen last week. We have a factory in Tarlac, which was very close to Aurora, and we did have power interruptions. We know that our utility provider there is not as robust as what we have in the Luzon, Carmona area, and I think we do see risks. If we didn't have generators running in Tarlac, we would have been severely affected by Typhoon Lando. So I think we need to go a long ways towards disaster proofing the infrastructure we need for the semiconductor industry to be effective in the Philippines.
Would you like to react? We go to the next. This will be our last question before we ask for the parting message from our panelists. Yes, go ahead, sir.
Good afternoon. My name is Hil Caceres from Nippon Micrometal. I'd like to direct this question to DG De Lima and Secretary or Commissioner Lina. Regarding the EZTS, may I know the status? We discussed this in the last SEIPI meeting in Cebu. My only question on that is, when will it be finally implemented?
Both of us will sign the joint memorandum order next week. So hopefully we will implement. Sorry, that's a little bit delayed, but we tried our best really to harmonize all the other procedures, and we will sign the both joint memorandum order next week. Ma'am, ready na ho kami. Ready na rin kayo. So we'll launch it by next week.
Okay, that's
Thank
the
you.
same answer of DG De Lima.
Ma'am, ako magtatanong.
Commissioner Lina has a question to Yusek Aison.
You presented a while ago on the solar, on the commitment, or you allowed only to put in 50 megawatt of solar. How about if I would like to put in solar in my rooftop, in my business establishments? Will you give me a duty and tax exemption?
Very good
Yes
question.
po.
I've
Kasi
heard
po
that
yung
from some
ating
other-
renewable energy law gives both fiscal and non-fiscal incentives. Meron ng mga incentives for renewable energy projects. Meron nung income tax holiday, I cannot mention all of them, but it's a host of fiscal and non-fiscal incentives. And we do encourage rooftop solar installations.
Kasi nakapag-install na ho ako ng 800 kilowatt Malapit na ho ako 1 megawatt. Pwede ho bang mag-apply ako, backtrack? Di ba? Retroactive. So po pwedeng prospective. Ma'am, di ba? Ako ang unang nagsimula dito. I've installed already 800 kilowatt
Where, sir?
of
In
rooftops.
your, where is this?
Kilowatt on our roofs. Di ba? So,
Business establishment.
business establishment, and I still do it now. But we did it because we would like to, cooperate and for climate change.
By the way ho pala, yung may incentives ho yung mga power generation installations. Now for the rooftop, I will just have to check. I'll call you ho about these incentives kasi this is more of your own use. So I was talking of the fiscal and non-fiscal for the power generation plants which has renewable energy as the source of fuel or energy resource. Yung sa rooftop ho, on use yan, kaya it will be treated differently. I'll give you the details.
No, it helps because, in our warehouses where we have also refrigeration facilities, we're using it now. And even in our household, we use that to do like 4 to 8 kilowatt on our rooftops. We save 20% because we have the solar, we have the battery, we have the Meralco, and we have the genset. So that's a power, di ba? So, ayun, ma'am
Yung sa net metering ho yan kung may excess kayo, you can send it to the grid and may mga kayo dyan benefits. Of course, aside from having cleaner source of fuel, plus your savings for your own use.
Okay, ma'am, you'd like to add something?
Yes, I want to add something. I think we're really strongly pushing for energy efficiency. So inside PESA zones, we're telling, please use LED lighting. So we have LED manufacturers inside the zones, and if they sell to companies inside the zone or export-oriented companies, this is within our, short of the law, we are encouraging them. So we say if you sell to export-oriented companies or companies inside the zones, this is considered as exports and not domestic sales. So that I think they will be able to reduce the cost to the buyers inside the zones. If they buy LED lighting from manufacturers, they only pay, that's still considered export. And this is also supporting the LED manufacturers. So maybe we can be more innovative and thinking how to really push for energy efficiency.
Okay.
We're just starting with LED, maybe we go to the other inverters, etc. Hinay-hinay lang, so we started with LED. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Sorry, sir. We really have to end the session. I'm sorry about that. We don't even have... Oh, sorry. We'll have the last question. Yes. Okay.
That's why you are called the darling of the industry. She has always helped us. Anyway, I would like to piggyback on the idea because there are some of us who are trying to qualify for green building. And we're not talking about just adding LED, the usage of LED lighting. We have just completed our building and we have used light shaft to use natural lighting. We're using carpet tilings that are 90% from recycled bottled water. So what I'm saying is we should not just look at it from just LED lightings. We should look at it from the efforts and initiatives as being defined by the green building advocates. And I hope, we went to it, aside from the help that PESA is giving us, I think in the future, we should give incentives to people who will qualify for LEED certification, whether it's gold or platinum or what have you. So I think that this is another direction that we can take as an industry, or not even outside the industry. Thank you.
Very good point. Thank you very much, sir, and I'm glad we accommodated that. On that note, we would like to thank our panelists for this afternoon. Please give them all a warm round of applause. Thank you so much, Director General De Lima, Secretary Sarmiento, Yusik Aison, and of course, Secretary Lina. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, we will be having a short break for about 5 to 10 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much to our panelists. And of course, we appreciate very much the